Welcome to the video Assigning Permissions and Tasks in BIZUIT. Today we are going to explore how to manage the assignment of tasks within processes using user interaction activity and how to set the execution permissions of a process to control who can access and execute it. This knowledge is essential to optimize process automation and ensure an efficient flow with the necessary human interventions. Process execution permissions. From a security point of view, it is crucial to control who can execute a process. This is achieved through the process security mapping in BIZUIT Designer that controls the execution permissions to start an instance of the process. What are execution permissions? Execution permissions determine who has access to start a process. Permissions can be assigned to individual users as well as to roles. For example, only operations managers can initiate the budget approval process. In our case, only users belonging to the role employees can request reimbursement, so only they can start the process. It is also common practice to give this permission to administrators and to BIZUIT admins. Introduction to the user interaction activity. The user interaction activity is a key point in BIZUIT processes where user intervention is required to enter data, approve actions, or make decisions. Here, the execution of the process is temporarily paused, waiting for human interaction before continuing. This activity allows managing additional data entry, approvals and confirmations, manual decisions to determine the next step, monitoring critical processes, and updating pending tasks. User and role assignment. Now let's go into details on how to assign users and roles for the tasks managed with the user interaction activity. In the user assignment, you can assign a task to specific users to interact directly. Example, a purchase order may require the approval of the manager assigned to that area. In our case, the initial evaluation must be performed by people belonging to the administration area group. Their assignment can be manual. The process designer chooses the user, by which we enter to configure security. Here we can select the user or users that will have permissions to execute the activity, or it can be assigned, as in our case, to the group of administration and finance. Also can be automatic according to defined rules, such as the responsible of an area. Or the user who executed some previous activity, for example in our case, who started the process. Or it can be assigned, or it can be configured using the value of some variable. For example, if we had in a variable defined who is the group that should evaluate the refund request, we could tell it to use the value of that variable, but that is not our case. You can also define to assign tasks according to the workload. We will see this in a more advanced class, where we will discuss it in detail. Instead of specific users, it is possible to assign roles or groups of users. One of the advantages of role assignment is that if you change personnel, you do not need to modify the process flow. That is, roles allow you to manage tasks in a more flexible way, especially in dynamic teams. It is also possible to establish dynamic rules to define who receives the task. For example, if the customer is from Argentina, assign the task to the finance manager in Argentina. If the customer is from Spain, assign the task to the finance manager in Spain. In our case, we could say that if any. For example, if the amount of the expense is greater than 1 million, Also, as we saw, it is possible to define a response time, a timeout. BIZUIT allows you to define time limits for task response. This is achieved through the activity, expirable activity. If the assigned user does not respond within a certain time, the system can automatically reassign the task or escalate it to another user or role, which is what we will see in the next video. On the other hand, the automatic notifications allow us to send email alerts and/or push notifications to the assigned users or roles, indicating that they have a pending task, placing within the email or push notification some data of the process. For example, amount employee number. And use it inside our template, which can be a plain text or HTML. Well, now we are going to unite everything we have learned in a practical example, configuring our refund management process.